The player that we're going to talk about today is the exact opposite of that particular characterization of this Cowboys franchise. The Cowboys as a country club culture, something that we've been talking about all offseason about how clearly Brian Schottenheimer realized this himself. That's why that he said a lot of the things that he said. That's why that he's doing a lot of things that he's doing behind the scenes, right? In practice, within the facilities, behind closed doors. That's why that he speaks the way that he speaks. That's why I was so on my own for the most part, with a few exceptions. Loose takes, Foch Lombardi, you know who you are. Guys in my corner drawing their swords with me on, hey, offensive line at 12 in 2025 is in play for the NFL draft. Zion Childress, the most significant contributor to this Cowboys roster that you've never heard of. The most impactful player that you've never heard of. An undrafted free agent with a legitimate chance, not just to make this roster. I think that's a done deal, but to start. And not just because there's no other option. The Cowboys could do, there are measures that could be made. There are steps that could be taken to preclude that from being the case, from a undrafted free agent starting on your defense. Zion Childress as the nickel corner, week 1, against the Philadelphia Eagles, Thursday Night Football, September 4th. Not necessarily something that you're going to circle on your, hey, what's going to make or break this potential matchup here. The Eagles don't really love to live in a 3 personnel formation. That's not their identity. That's not who they are. But thinking beyond just the particular opponent, Zion Childress, the player who has gone completely against, has been the polar opposite of the country club Cowboys narrative or culture that we've sort of grown accustomed to, that the fan base has sort of really bought into speaking loudly in opposition against, and trying their best to use their voice as a collective, voicing their displeasure to encourage the Joneses to go out and do something about it. Right? Well, lo and behold, Brian Schottenheimer is the guy that is trying to do something about it. Tyler Booker is a great piece of supportive contextual evidence showing that that's really what this organization, or this new regime, this coaching staff is priding themselves in. Hey, maybe Tyler Booker wasn't the highest graded player on our board at that point at 12. But he damn sure was the most physically dominant. A guy, by the way, who was a captain at the University of Alabama, despite being an offensive guard. How often is it that you hear that a guard is one of the foundational components of your organization, of your roster, of your program in college? Kind of rare, right? Well, Zion Childress is doing everything that he possibly can. He knows he's playing. He knows that as an undrafted free agent, the politics in sport matters. He's got to make a significant difference. He can't just be in the same conversation with other guys who are, let's say, higher drafted or have more money invested, whether financial or draft capital. If it doesn't match up, if all things are equal, the guy that's getting favored, that's getting kept around, that's not getting cut, is the guy that has more invested into him from that particular franchise. That's not, we understand the politics involved here, right? Zion Childress is giving this Cowboys organization no choice but to roster him because of the fearlessness, the physicality, the reckless abandon, similar to what we've discussed with Maris Leofau, dating all the way back to last year. But then also saying no to the country club culture that we, at least let's just say this channel, I'll speak for myself here in my community, have grown to understand is a significant factor, something that holds this franchise back in the postseason when it matters the most. I want to give credit to Will Steele. This discussion here is obviously centered around a player, the most impactful player on the Cowboys roster that you've never heard of. Will Skywalker Steele is probably the most impactful member of Cowboys media, the most overlooked member of Cowboys media, the most underappreciated member of Cowboys media. Not necessarily the biggest name. That's Law Nation, that's Voch Lombardi, rightfully so. Not necessarily or so much the biggest platform. That's Voch Lombardi, that's Law Nation, that's right, those two guys, rightfully so. But a guy who will soon be considered amongst the likes of those two others. And his platform, as far as just sheer quantity, the size of it will be a reflection of that respect that he generates, that he's continuing to generate. He and I are usually on the same wave, right? Once again, I tweeted at him a couple days ago, and this tweet right here, and just continuing along the same lines, on the same trend. I'm getting ready to. I'm capturing all the footage. I'm scrubbing through preseason week number 2 against the Ravens and looking for all the clips that I can showcase to highlight the definition or the embodiment of the opposite of what we've grown accustomed to and what we've been trying so hard to voice our displeasure against. What the nation, the collective of Cowboys media, fans, otherwise have been doing everything that we possibly can to separate ourselves from. That's Zion Childress. I'm collecting clips here. I'm gathering footage. I'm going through it. I'm just keying in on number 48. That's a guy who I live tweet. I can't remember if it was during the game still, or if it was immediately after, or the moments shortly thereafter. I'm like, 48 is coming for somebody's jersey number. Because of the fearlessness, the physicality, the decisiveness that he plays with. I'm sitting here, I'm gathering all this intel. And of course, I log on to YouTube. I was actually going to throw on some Brian Broaddus because I love his perspective too. And I see, because I subscribe to the Skywalker Steele Show, somebody, once again, that I respect. Rising tide raises all boats in this community. He and I have a level of respect for each other that, can only be understood or appreciated behind the scenes, right? Like, so hopefully soon we'll continue to have an opportunity to work more in conjunction with one another. But for now, the best way that I can stay in communication with him is just to watch the production and then give him some feedback. I'll bounce ideas off him. He'll bounce ideas off me. We'll stay in contact because I respect what he has to say. And I listen and I trust him. And I think the feelings are mutual. I hope they are. But if they aren't, that's okay. I'm running my race and my time will come too. But of course, we're on the exact same wave. He drops an absolute gem, 11 minutes long, in the Skywalker Steele, I believe it's Unleashed, his new YouTube channel. And he shows this play right here that I'm about to show you. And this, of course, is one of the clips that I had actually already recorded on my own, but it was just much more, it was lo-fi, much less professionally done. He already had the work complete. So I'm just going to use his. And I'm going to cite my source, and I hope that you guys subscribe to the things that he's doing. Hopefully you can see that right there too. But just take a look at this. All right, I'll talk through it as he is doing the same.
The ball, and he frees up those linebackers. Speaking of which, take a look at Damone Clark here. This is some textbook.
So there's a few different things going on.
He comes downhill. He physically blows up this.
Damone Clark, that's a dude that I tried to bring to light as well as a guy that he jumped off of the scene from my time in Oxnard. A guy, if you understand the importance of the number 18 at LSU, if you understand the prospect prior to the injury, and Damone Clark doubting himself because his body failed him. He had to have spinal fusion surgery. He's playing fast again, like he trusts himself, like he trusts his body again. This is another great example of that, but that's not the feature of this project here. That's not the feature of this play that Skywalker Steele is breaking down. He's one of the components of it because, as we know, run stop is not just Mozzie Smith. There's a key for you. Still kind of blows me away how many people are just ready to say, screw off, Mozzie. You know, I understand the frustration. But the Cowboys have much more than a Mozzie Smith problem at defensive tackle. It's foundational, okay? And it's rooted deep within the organization of hey, just sort of disregarding that particular position, all right? My thoughts on Mozzie are well documented. But let's focus on number 48 here.
Offensive lineman right there with his right shoulder, but he keeps that left arm free in case the ball comes his way. And that's how you really want to play here. That's something that we haven't seen from Damone. This is the real teach tape here. Donovan
Ezeraku is another example. The ability to set the edge is something with the arm length and the power that I talked about. Everybody wanted to mention right away and only discuss the pass rusher, Donovan Ezeraku, from his time at Boston College. The most prolific pass rusher in the entire country. Maybe second only to Abdul Carter. That's debatable. But the sacks and the pressures speak for themselves. But everybody said that he slipped because of his ability in the run game, and I disagreed from the jump. Once again, those thoughts are well documented. It's because of the arm length. It's because of the power, the upper body power that he plays with, but it's just the cerebral nature to his game. He clearly understands what his role is, and he very, very infrequently, at least from the two games that I've watched so far, finds himself out of position. There are a couple examples, though, we'll say. At times he's so fast, he's so electric, he's so bendy, he gets himself caught too far upfield to where he sort of takes himself out of position. He'll correct that, he'll get better as time goes on. He's a rookie. But watch him. We call this stack and shed. All right, number 41 over here. Fully stacked, fully extended, and then watch the snatch.
Do a good job in this series.
Shed the block.
Setting the edge, but take a look at Easy.
This is DeMarcus Lawrence-esque.
Edge strikes first, so he's winning the arms race with this long arm. Then he's going to peek in the backfield, shed this tackle with a snatch-snag technique, get lateral down the line of scrimmage, and finishes with the stop. That's exactly how you want to coach this thing here.
So that's for another day. Let's focus on 48.
And show you the backside of this play, which is Zion Childress, who is just relentless. Childress is going to be right here, number 48. The Ravens wide receiver number 82, they completely underestimate Zion's quickness, and Childress just knifes through. But notice how he doesn't just fly upfield here, right? He's going to break down, get control, again, gets lateral and joins Eazy-E on the tackle. That's three different guys meeting at the ball, setting up second and long. Just outstanding team defense. So
now, Zion Childress, by the way, just a quick little background. Not the biggest guy. Okay? Nickel corner. That means you better have quick hips. You better be able to change direction. You better be fluid. Because receivers, as we know, the evolution of football, if you didn't catch my project with Vosh Lombardi talking about that, what positions are most significantly affected by it, and how the Cowboys roster building, their total roster construction, their philosophy, and teams league-wide are beginning to adapt to this new evolution that people don't speak enough about. Okay, go check that video out. But this is one of the things that I'm talking about here. Offenses are more frequently than ever moving their traditional X receiver, their best pass catcher, let's just say it that way, into the slot. Isolating him against, they're moving him around a lot more frequently. Okay, guys are interchangeable. The best pass catcher, the premier playmaker at receiver is not just entrenched at one specific position. It's the same conversation, the same chess game that we talk about when referring to Micah Parsons and why he shouldn't just be entrenched at the edge position. And no, that doesn't mean making him more of a linebacker than a pass rusher. No, it's just find the scrub and exploit the mismatch. Confuse defenses. Make him accounted for. Line him up all over the formation so that you can't prepare for him, so that you can't scheme him out of the game if you're an offensive coordinator. That's what we're talking about here. Zion Childress is going to more often than not be isolated against the opposing team's number one pass catcher, their top target getter, because it's a free release and it's a two-way go. All right, but in this case here, this play here, and I want to know what actually caused Childress to trigger so quickly, because as you'll see, they have a bunch formation over here. It's closely condensed to the line of scrimmage, so we call that condensed formation. This is two tight ends. I'm sorry, that's not a tight end, that's a tackle. So we got 11 personnel here. 1, 2, 3 receivers, 1 running back, 1 tight end, or 1 tight end right here. So they're condensed so close to the formation that the untrained eye, or just the casual observer, would say, "Oh, the Cowboys have 3 linebackers on the field." That's actually not the case. That's 185-pound Zion Childress. And 185 is probably generous, right? He looks like he's playing the linebacker position, but that's just because the alignment, the slot formation over here, tight to the line of scrimmage, condensed look, as I say, as most people say. It's dictating that, right? So he's still technically responsible for, he's in coverage here. One of these two guys, he's communicating. It looks like, obviously, Andrew Booth is outside leverage. He's sagging off. But this is your nickel corner, Zion Childress, who's technically matched up with this inside receiver right here. All right, but watch what he does.
Just knifes through. But notice
it's right away. Look, Cooper Rush isn't even holding onto the football yet. I hope y'all can see that. He's already planted and triggered downhill. So something in the film study, something in his key, something in the way that he's being coached, I'm not exactly sure what that is. He has a quick trigger, but he guesses correctly. And then he's fearless once he enters the box. This guy is responsible for run support. He's willing in run support. He is maniacal in run support. He embodies the exact opposite of what the Cowboys have been desperately trying to remove themselves from, at least under the Brian Schottenheimer regime and administration. Watch.
how he doesn't
just shoots downhill, breaks down like a linebacker, and wraps up.
Right? He's going to break down, get control, again, gets lateral and joins Easy E on the tackle.
It's textbook linebacker play, but he's not even a linebacker. How big is he exactly? Okay, he's 200 pounds. 5'11", 203. I thought he was smaller than that. He looks so small out there. But there you go. 5'11", 203, but he plays like he's 253. there are other plays. I'm going to be showing you. I'm going to be overlaying this conversation here for the rest of the time being from preseason week number 1, and from this game here as well. But just don't understate the importance of a guy like this showing up when the Cowboys absolutely desperately needed it more so now than ever, because of all the rash of injuries that's going on at their cornerback position. Savon Revel Jr., the first-round talent at corner that they were actually able to secure in the 3rd round, pick 76 overall, having a little bit slower of a progression as far as his return to play with the ACL injury that occurred last year. That's why he was a 3rd-round pick, by the way. If he was healthy entering the draft, he's a first-rounder. Cowboys got him round 3, but that injury is taking him longer to recover than expected. Trevon Diggs, his timeline is still unknown. Josh Butler, been injured most of this offseason as well. All right, so you got Deron Bland, Kyer Elam, and then a bunch of question marks directly behind those guys. Keemon Hall's another dude that's playing with a level of scrap that is respectable, commendable. A dude that's given himself a chance. I'm not going to count him out just yet, but Zion Childress is all that and then some. Shows great instincts, shows great ability to, like I said, the fluidity with the hips to be able to turn multiple directions. The modernization of NFL offenses and how they exploit the receiver position. Okay, but then more so than anything else, screw all that other stuff. The cornerback, the nickel, the coverage jargon. This dude, much like Perion Winfrey, who didn't even take his helmet off when he's signing autographs, whenever I was there on site in Oxnard. Zion Childress, undrafted free agent. Toughest dude on the field, all things considered. Hey, I'm laying it all on the line for a job because I'm desperate to feed my family. Because they counted me out when I was an undrafted free agent. Nobody wanted me. He wants, much like, once again, Perion Winfrey, everybody's smoke, gunpowder, and lead. This should be encouraging for you. Zion Childress, the most impactful Cowboys player that you've never heard of. Yes, providing a hint of hope, a glimmer of light in a very dark, injury-riddled position right now. But also embodying this culture, this breath of fresh air, a philosophy, a mentality that as a result of the Star, the most valuable sports franchise in the world, with the hashtag 53 brands that Mike Fisher has made famous and has dubbed, Jerry Jones, the marketing genius that he is, America's favorite team to hate, can very easily become a distraction. You making a name for yourself outside of just a football field. How much do you love football? That's one of the things that led me, this platform here, my community of people, to drawing the conclusion that, hey, offensive line isn't just in consideration at 12. That's very likely. Turned out to be the case. How much does George Pickens love football? It's one of the things that led me to writing about him on Athlon Sports, CowboysCountry.com. And in a roundabout way, predicting that potential outcome that I was mocked for. Zion Childress is an encouraging sign for a fan base that is reeling right now, honestly, and is in a lot of cases panicking over what they have seen with the coaching staff that's willing to take some heat, but also stand on business at the podium when he's pressed with all these questions. People were freaking out about 6 straight pass attempts for Joe Milton in week 1. Freaking out over the starters not participating at all in week 1. Freaking out over the way that they were manhandled, seemingly, at the point of attack in week 1 and week 2. Freaking out about all these different things. Micah Parsons. No remedy in sight for that particular situation. Everything is calculated. If you missed what that means, please feel free to check that out. I feel like this was a good way to help people understand exactly what I mean when I say that. Hidden on purpose. And what all that stuff means. Okay, but for today, Zion Childress should be a breath of fresh air and an encouraging sign for a franchise that's doing everything that they possibly can, for a coaching staff, a regime that's doing everything that they possibly can to turn the page on a newfound Cowboys culture. It's a guy that you should root for. Right there. All right, be the change. Much like Zion Childress is, actually, ironically enough, that you want to see in this world. Make somebody smile. All right, and remember that prayer changes things and the war is already won. Talk to you guys soon.